Welcome back. Today we are going to dive into the foundations of creating magnetic content. So remember, your magnetism comes from authenticity. It comes from you being who you are on a true soul level, not who the world told you to be, not the personality that trauma has shaped, not the part of you that you feel like you need to package up and create a perception in order to attract your tribe, to sell your product, whatever it is. You're here to be your authentic self. And so there's some foundations that we can put into place while you are on your way to that magnetic frequency of authenticity. And then there are foundations that you will want to always continue to embody throughout your visibility journey. So I want to jump into those with you today. So the first thing we're going to start with are the visibility archetypes. And there are 12 different archetypes here that I've outlined for you with what that looks like, the magnetism of that archetype, and then I break it down even further with which type of content to create. Now, there's probably going to be two or three that are just supernatural to you, but you should work to A, test out every single archetype. And it's also important to constantly include these different archetypes into your content. So you might have two or three that like you gravitate towards that are natural for you, but it's important to bring all of these different types in because it speaks to different audiences. It also lets you explore who you are. And then it keeps you from getting put into a box. And I want to talk about putting yourself into a box because this is something I did early on in my visibility journey. So my first TikTok account I started in March of 2024, and I grew that within a year to a little over 50,000 followers. And I was sharing my spiritual gifts. It started with channeled messages and tarot readings, and then more of my spiritual gifts. And what happened is because I only showed up as like the oracle archetype, the one who's bringing this wisdom and gifts, I got put into this box and it was really hard for me to get out of it. And so in July of 2025, this year, while I'm recording this, I started a brand new account because I was just like, you know what? I want fresh energy. Like that was a version of me that was just giving my gifts to the world and not fully embodying all that I'm here to share, right? Because we're all multidimensional. And so I started a brand new account and I said, I'm going to embody all of these different archetypes because I want to share every different part of myself and be super multidimensional throughout. And so in that, I started that account on July 3rd. And within 35 days, I had over 10,000 followers. And then with Instagram, I started posting on Instagram. I think it was January of 2025. I didn't really have, I mean, I had an account that I just scrolled on before, but I didn't really use it because I just had all these stories about Instagram in my head. Like it wants my curated aesthetic, it only likes certain types of content and blah, 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 blah. And it wasn't until April of 2025 that I actually decided to show up seriously on Instagram. So like when the TikTok ban came in, I was like, fine, I'll post here. But I didn't really want to be there and my energy said that. And so my account was not growing. I was like posting into the abyss. As soon as in like April of 2025, end of April, I was like, there's people here who need help and I need to show up and start acting like it and stop having all of these stories that I've created about Instagram and how it's different from TikTok. And TikTok likes my authentic, expression, or I can just pick up the camera and talk, but Instagram wants something more curated and pretty for the feed, right? But as soon as I decided, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do, as I always do, I immediately had over 20,000 followers within like a month. So again, your magnetic frequency and your multidimensional expression is your quickest way to growth on social media. It's your quickest way to the expansion and growth that you are looking for within yourself, within your authenticity. And it's the quickest way to expand your impact and your abundance, right? So I share that to say be multidimensional, share all parts of yourself, share from all of these different archetypes, play, explore, have fun with the process and treat it like a playground. Like if you show up one day as the storyteller and that's not natural to you and it doesn't get like a lot of views, that doesn't mean anything, right? Like we need to keep showing up and keep practicing because you might need help becoming a better storyteller. You might need to feel more comfortable and natural telling stories. So play with these archetypes. Don't let the matrix metrics of like the views, the engagement, all of that show you what's going on with the content. Also, as we get further into this, we're going to talk about content that attracts the masses, content that nurtures your people, and content that converts them into your world in whatever way that is. Maybe it's a community, a product, a service, a session, whatever, but brings them further into your world. And there will be content that is meant to reach the masses. Those will get high views. There will be content that is hyper specific that is meant to convert people, and that could get really low views. But often when I make those pieces of content, those are the ones that generate the most money. Those are the ones that bring people into my world because it's so hyper specific. But on the regular, I want to attract the masses in and bring people into my world so that I can then share more about myself and what I do and how to help them reach their fullest expression. So adopt that mindset for yourself of like, I'm not going to let the views or the matrix metrics dictate how I allow myself to express and play with these different archetypes. So, all of that to be said, here are the different archetypes. We have the teacher, the healer, the activator, the mystic, channel, storyteller, the rebel or the disruptor, the leader, the oracle, the artist, the creator, the sage and philosopher, the lover, the empath, the visionary, the futurist, and the messenger or the bridge. And so you can see with each of these kind of the core energy that's behind them, the expression style, and then their magnetic purpose. Like what makes this a magnetic piece of content? So for me, I'm kind of naturally like the teacher, the healer, the oracle, and the storyteller. Those are kind of like my four go-tos. But I like to play with the others, right? Like so often I'll do comedy skits with mine, like reviewing your soul contract, right? That's more like the artist maybe, or maybe even the rebel, right? Sometimes I like to actually go into like the visionary aspect of this and talk about things that maybe many people aren't, or talk about it in a different way and create like a new perception for people. So play around with it. You're gonna have two to three that probably already pop into your mind as you're reading this that you naturally go into. And when you're first trying to work through your visibility blocks, use those. That if that's already natural to you, show up in that way. But don't forget to allow yourself to then explore, because again, you don't want to get boxed in, and you want to make sure you're being multidimensional. So you want to be, the person who's teaching, but then the person who's, bridging a new form of communication into this world, a new form of looking at something, that new perspective. You might want to activate people. So you just really want to play with them all and see what feels good to you. And so as you're looking at these archetypes, you're going to pick the ones that you already embody. You're going to pick two that feel kind of uncomfortable. Maybe like they bring you to an edge a little bit, like maybe saying the thing that you really want to say that's on your heart is the edge for you, right? And that's the messenger, the bridge. That's like really expressing what's in there, that message you already know that lives within you. But either way, pick one or two of these archetypes, and these are the ones that you want to focus on. And like, what would it be like to show up in these archetypes? And so you can practice in your journey of just like recording content without posting. You can practice this in your real life, and then you can practice this when you actually record and do post. So there's a few ways you can start to work these in just to get more comfortable with these archetypes. And then think about the one that you rarely express, the one that you see on your social media feed or you see in other people, and you're like, oh, I love how they do X, right? The reason you're drawn to that, the reason you admire it in someone else is because it actually already exists within you, and that's your soul calling you forward to explore that. So if you are, looking at content, or there's just someone where you're like, I really admire how they say the things they say, or I really admire how they show up, that lives within you. It's just a reflection of something that's within you that's asking to be embodied. So that's a great place to start to explore. And then think about each of these different archetypes, because again, it's your own unique expression. So who are you as the teacher? For me as a teacher, it's always easier if I have the whiteboard, because I can break down the thoughts in my head in a way that I feel like makes sense to people. Um, I also can do, like 3 ways to X, Y, Z, and give them like step one, step two, step three as that format with like that teacher. But that doesn't, to be a teacher doesn't mean you have to pull out the whiteboard. You have your own format, right? So you just got to play with it and see what feels good, what feels natural, and what feels aligned to your authentic expression. So again, you might be playing with the teacher archetype, but you might try it 10 different ways to figure out what you like. This is all about exploration and playing to find it. And then you can look at how you create content, from like a format perspective, and the tone or frequency that you want to bring behind each of these archetypes as you play with them. And then also kind of the shadow that can come up, right? So the teacher archetype can be like overly of service and kind of withhold personality. So this is why I really try to make sure I also insert my story as often as possible. Or even like when I'm teaching and I'm talking about shame, I'll do my shame on the whiteboard. Like I'm always trying to bring myself into it so that I'm not just totally removing myself and my personality, because that's really easy to do if you have visibility wounds. For the mystic, you might become vague or untethered. And so you really want to make sure you're like grounding the information that you're sharing and channeling and bringing in. For the healer, you might come off in a codependent energy, right? And you might just feel like you're responsible for everybody and you have to take on everything. You might share things that you're not ready to share yet. Like there's just this, it's a very codependent energy sometimes that comes up with the healer archetype. So you've got to kind of play around with these again, beware of the shadows. You're going to work through visibility blocks as they come. There is no, I'm going to go clear all my visibility blocks and then get visible. They come up as you move through this process. So just let them come up. They're meant to. Okay. And then I want you to think of three archetypes, how you can actually express this energy. How could you expand that or experiment with it? And then put an example content idea that you can practice this week, right? Because it's really important to take action. That's always the thing I'm going to refer to over and over and over again. You can do all of the work behind the scenes. The hardest thing for light workers and star seeds and chosen ones and the empaths of the world is to really put our heart out there. So practice with these, record the content without posting it, but make sure you put a timeline on it, right? So like I'm going to practice this for a week. I'm going to practice this for 2 weeks, and then I'm actually going to post it. And I'm going to allow myself to be expressed. This is the only way we can clear the blocks, okay? And then you want to think about the anatomy of magnetic content. Okay, so we're going to expand on this and go a lot deeper, but I need you to have the foundations down. If you don't have these foundations down and you're not practicing within these, when we go deeper, it's going to get really confusing and overwhelming for you. And content doesn't need to be hard, it gets to be easy. Okay, it gets to be easy, it gets to be fun, it gets to be exciting, it gets to be rewarding. These are the affirmations and the beliefs that I truly have about it. And it didn't start that way. So just remember, when you're coming up against these things, it gets to be fun, it gets to be good, it gets to be easy, it gets to be rewarding. It's, find your own affirmations, but constantly recite those to yourself. Okay, so you want to always have kind of this energetic architecture to every single post. So you always want a hook. A hook is the first part of your video. And I'm going to show you another video in the next module where I actually go through some content and give you some examples of what this looks like. I want to show you visual hooks, verbal hooks, audio hooks. I'm going to break all of this down much more, but I just need you to have the basic understanding before, again, we can dive deeper. So this is the energetic portal that opens somebody entering your space, whether they stay and watch your video and you have, I think research says 3 seconds. I think you have even less because, again, everything I teach is based on frequency and people feel your frequency long before they ever hear or see you. And so your frequency is actually the hook. But if you can catch people long enough with a funny visual hook or just something that stands out and makes you different in the sea of content, that's why I say get out of that sea of sameness, because you're just going to blend in and people are going to just scroll. Like one of the things I always get from people is you talk about things in a way I've never heard before. The whiteboard's unique. Like these are all things that draw people into my world. When I have just like the whiteboard behind me and there's like the character, either Jane or Bob or whoever on the board, that's when that's the pop. That's when like people are like, what is she? Why is there a stick figure behind her? And it gives me a second to say what I'm about to say, right? And so my hook is like the visual aspect, but then it's often like the sentence I say at the beginning. And so again, I'll give you those examples, but I want you to really think about what is a hook in your content that you're creating and how could you make it more engaging? So to me, a hook should tell somebody what they're getting in that video right away. And I'm going to give you some examples here that I've actually used, right? And some of these have gone viral and gotten really good responses. So these are great ones that you can use to, make your own, obviously. I'm going to show you what's happening in the quantum field when you're afraid of being seen. This immediately brings people in because I said quantum field. I'm going to show you. So they're kind of like, how is she going to do this? And what does that mean to be afraid to be seen? Like there's 3 different pieces in this hook. Another one, chosen ones will never actually feel chosen. In fact, it will be one of the biggest wounds you have to overcome in this lifetime. Um, to to see chosen one will not be chosen. That right there is like a brain like mix up. So for a second you're like, wait, what? Chosen ones will never be chosen. What is that? And then it clicks. So now I've brought you into the video. Another one, the real reason light workers are afraid to be seen. And this is like, well, what is the real reason? Why? Because for so many light workers and healers and soul-led entrepreneurs, it kind of slips out as to why it's such an intense feeling to overcome the fear of being seen or why it's so hard. And if you have this feeling, this fear, you're going to want to know what's the real reason behind it, because now you're like, oh, well, if I had this piece of information, this information that's been eluding me, I could fix this, right? So I'm tempting you by saying, I have this reason for you, come into my video. Another one, This one went viral on both platforms, TikTok and Instagram. And I said, ooh, my soul contract. Let's see what I signed up for. And this was a comedy skit I did. But this is like, people are so into what did I sign up for? Why am I here? What am I doing? So I'm speaking to like a mass conversation. So it brought it up right away. And you're gonna be like, what did she sign up for? Right? It starts curiosity. And then another one I did that had, I think this got a couple 100,000 views on both platforms. I can't exactly remember, but it's a good hook. 5 steps to heal shame. And this is because this is an emotion that every single person on earth is impacted by. It's the lowest vibrational emotion that blocks everything. So, 5 steps, I'm going to give you 5 steps on how to heal shame. And then I immediately go into the why. So the hook is like, oh, 5 steps, I can heal shame in five. Like, why would I not watch this video? It's kind of like a no-brainer. If I can heal this thing in 5 steps, I want to know what those 5 steps are. So those are hooks that bring people in. And with each of these, they're showing curiosity. They're telling the person what they're going to get in this video. Like, I'm going to show you what's happening in the quantum field. These are 5 steps to heal. Like, I'm telling you exactly what you're getting in this video, or I'm piquing your curiosity and interest to be like, I haven't heard that before. Chosen ones won't be chosen. You're not going to feel chosen. Like, it's going to pique something or tell them what they're getting. And then that's speaking to a very direct person, right? Because if you don't want to heal shame, you'll just keep scrolling. If you're not interested in what's going on in the quantum field, you'll just keep scrolling. So your hook is the energetic opening, but it's also usually like a truth bomb. It's like the summary of what you're about to share, or you're addressing a very specific pain point like shame that most people are feeling. So that's your hook. And then you have the heart. And this is the frequency, the message, or your teaching. This is like the whole meat of the video. So for me, if I'm doing my whiteboard content, this is where I've got the circle going and I'm showing all the different things. This is the heart where I'm giving you truly the 5 steps that are going to heal your shame, or showing you exactly what's happening in your own field. And this is where your archetype is going to really come alive, because you're either going to go into teacher mode, you're going to go into the healer mode. This is where you're embodying that type of energy and then the expression of it. And then you always want to be speaking to just one person. Like, don't try to speak to the masses. The second you're speaking to the masses, you're going to start to censor yourself, because you're going to be like, well, what if they don't feel that way? What if that's not their personal experience? Like, you can't speak to the masses. We're speaking to one specific person in the heart of the message. So we're speaking to the masses when we say 5 steps to heal shame. But then as we bring people into the video, I'm talking to one person with shame. Because if I think of everybody, I'm going to be like, well, this might be their experience with shame. Well, what if that wasn't their experience? I could go into 1,000 different things. So I pick one archetype, and that is what I'm focusing on and who I'm talking to. And this keeps me out of a sea of sameness, right? Because when you're trying to appeal to everybody, you reach nobody. So you want to ask yourself in this, like, what's the story that I'm telling? What is it that I want to communicate? What do I want to reveal or activate in someone? What am I teaching them? Like that 5 steps to heal shame, I want you to feel empowered to go take action. I always want everyone to leave my video with like a tip or something, right? To go and take action, so important to me. So I always want it to be something someone can immediately take and go take action on. What do I want them to feel like? And then why is this important? If you don't know why your content's important, neither will anybody else. You have to really have that feeling. And I talk about this throughout all of my programs. Like, you have to believe that everything you're doing is changing lives, transforming lives, and having impact. If you're showing up to your content and having this feeling of like, I'm going to say this, but I don't really know if it's that helpful, or that's the energy they're going to feel. So your message won't matter. That'll be the energy behind it. So you have to believe it's important. I believe every piece of content that I make, I believe all of my programs, I believe this community space, it changes lives. I know it does, and I've seen it, but I had to believe it before I could even see that in my reality, right? Because otherwise I was putting things out with like a weird energy that was like, I don't really believe in what I'm doing. And then other people weren't going to buy it. So I had to believe it and be like, I know this changes lives because it changed my life. I'm teaching from my fire. I'm not regurgitating information. I'm teaching from the fire I walked on. This is why your multidimensionality in this process is going to be like the magic, because nobody can do what you do, right? And then you want to think about the healer part of this. This is closing that energetic loop. We opened it with the hook, we brought them in and we gave them the heart of this message. And now we're going to close that loop. And this is where I always say, leave people better than you found them. This is where, to me, I want you leaving being able to take an action. I want you leaving knowing there's a resource for you. I want you to feel inspired and hopeful. I want you to be thinking about something differently. Like, what is the thing that I am really imparting upon you with this, right? And again, as our authentic frequency comes online, it does the work for us, right? Like we all carry these codes within that when somebody engages with our content or our offers or us or whatever, those codes immediately go into them and it starts like rearranging the energy within their field. That can't happen until we reach those codes ourselves through authenticity. So this is why it's important in your foundational formula is that you give a takeaway or something that you're imparting on someone, leaving them better than they started with you. Okay. So a couple of examples. The fear of being seen is the fear of being yourself. It's about healing what made you hide and finding the parts that you have hidden. So this is about bringing it all back together because the thing that I think is really important, I think most people miss in visibility, is finding the parts of you that you have hidden. A lot of people are like, let's clear the visibility wound, let's re-subconscious you to feel safe, but they don't go back and find the parts of themselves, like the personality that got totally molded and shape-shifted based on the trauma that they experienced. And then if you don't do that, you never truly access your soul. You're becoming who you think you need to be, or you're just moving into this next version of yourself. So to me, I've taught you everything, and now I'm wrapping it up to say, don't focus on like the fear of being seen itself. Focus on your healing and recovering these parts of yourself. So that person should then be able to go and say, okay, with whatever I just taught in the video, this is where I'm going to focus. And I know I'm leaving this to go find something that I've hidden away or, a part of my personality that I've suppressed. And then another example is you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one small step today, such as XYZ. So sometimes I'll say in my videos, like, hey, you don't need to go post the content today or go get on stage. The first thing you need to do in overcoming the fear of being seen is just take some form of action, a small step today, like joining a program or recording something that you don't post or journaling about what it is that you wish you could say. Like I'll give them a small step that they can take just to get that forward movement going. And then you have the bridge, right? So we have the hook, we have the heart, we have the healer, and now we have the bridge. And so this is where you're bringing them into some form of a call to action. So they want to work with you, they want to book something, they want to buy something, they want to follow you, maybe you want them to comment, but you're bringing some type of a call to action in. And I always recommend inviting them deeper into your world. So again, joining an email list, maybe you have a freebie, bringing them into your world by getting them to follow you, by getting them to purchase a product that you have or book a session. But how can you get them off of the apps? Like your goal is always to get people off the apps and into your world somehow. And this is really important. I saw this a lot with when they were talking about like a TikTok ban of people who had huge followings but hadn't brought anyone into their world. So like if that actually had gone away, they would have lost all that, all of that work and all of those people and all of those connections. So you want to get people off the app. And some examples. I teach this every week inside the Ascension Lab. This is the only space for light workers, blah, 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 blah. Another example, when you sign up to join, and I'm saying when you do this, so I'm like implanting within them, like when you do this, when you sign up, it's it's an inevitable. I know that you're going to want to come into the Ascension Lab. That's the energy I'm putting behind this. And when you sign up, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to break free, right? So I'm giving them a action and telling them why it's important, and what those next steps look like for them. Another one is you can do this yourself in 5 days with my Heal Your Money Blocks course. And so I'm always inviting people into my world. So this is going to be your formula right here that I would start with every piece of content that you create. Also, this is about expression. So if you have an idea and you just pick up the phone and you start recording, that is amazing. Don't worry about implementing this. This is when you have an idea and you're trying to like figure it out. And so you're not even at the point where you can pick up the phone or the camera yet. If you're someone who's sitting there and you're like, I have an idea and I could just pick this up and start talking about it, stay there, stay with that, and then start implementing this as well into other places and do a mix. Don't let this limit your authenticity. This is to help you access your authenticity. And so just I always like to put another way for you to think about things throughout this. Questions you can ask yourself as you're doing this, if you don't like this formula right here, is the truth. What are the message or the story I'm here to share? What is the truth that I'm here to broadcast into the world? What is the connection I'm making? Are people going to emotionally resonate with me? How are they connecting to me? How am I bringing myself into the content so that people can get to know me? And so there's that resonant connection. How am I showing up as an authority? What embodied wisdom am I sharing and demonstrating? What's the energy behind this? Is it service? Is it inspiration? Is it fear? And then what is that call to action? How are we inviting people deeper in? So that's the baseline that you want to be using in your content and playing with. The next thing I want to talk about is building authority and credibility. This is really important with social media because there are so many people that are just sharing content, which is so beautiful, but we need to separate you from the sea of sameness, right? And authority is embodied in you. Okay. So there are ways to show credibility, which I'll talk about here, but embodiment is so important. You have to feel as though what you are saying is important, that what you do is important, that you have the knowledge and wisdom to back this up, right? Because if you say an authority or credibility statement and you don't believe it, people are going to get like a fraud energy from you. So as you're going through this, remember that the work is also energetic. But this is like, this isn't your resume. This is the fire that you've taught people through. This is the resonance that's in your field because of all of the frequencies that you hold. And then this is also the part of you where you can claim certain titles or certifications or what's the word I'm looking for? Certain titles, certifications, or outcomes that you've achieved for yourself or for your clients, right? So let's look at the three layers of authority. There's the embodied, the credibility, and the energetic. So embodied is who you are and what you've lived. This is someone teaching from their fire. Again, in this next video, I'm going to show you, and I'm going to actually take you through some content and show you the hooks, show you who's teaching from fire, who's teaching from regurgitated information. I'm going to like show you all these different things, but the embodied authority is like what has your lived experience shaped in your life and how are you using that? This is like the alchemy of everything. So this is when I talk about example, narcissism and how I healed it or how I grew my spiritual business or how whatever. This is where I'm like, I'm talking about it from my fire. I don't necessarily have to tell you, here's how I grew my business. It will come through energetically. And then there's credibility. This is like results, knowledge. This is where I'll say, like, hey, X client got this result, or when I did this, I got this result, or here's how I grew 50,000 followers, or here's how that's like where I'm giving tangible proof, I guess, of who I am and what I've done. And if you don't have that yet, don't worry about it. You're going to build it. I didn't have it in the beginning either. Nobody does, right? Energetic authority. This is the conviction and the presence behind your message. Again, everything is going to be your frequency. Like you have to believe in what you do. You have to. You have to believe in what you do. It's so important. And who you are is important. And what you do is important. And like your expression is important. This whole journey is so important. If you can just believe in that, right? Then it will change your entire experience and how people interact with you. Okay, the credibility anchors. So let's look at this. Experience. This is your background, your career, your lived journey. So this is when I will often say I was a publicist for 5 years. I'm a content creator with over 100,000 followers. I am blah, 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 like whatever, plug and play, whatever experience you have. Your results. This is where I talk about measurable transformation from my work or from my personal life. So this could be where I talk about my level up or my glow up or results that I'm getting for clients. This is often where I'll share like testimonials. Which also reminds me, please make sure you're asking your clients for testimonials. You want to make sure that you're collecting this information, A, to understand the value that you're offering, right? So that you can hone in on that more. And then two, so that you have the tangible proof and the social credibility. My mission. Your bigger purpose or reason for doing what you're doing, that has to be anchored into your credibility. So like for me, I always talk about how I just want light workers to break free. I want them to break free from the matrix. I talk about how important it is for me to have people understand how to express themselves and how to overcome the fear of being seen because I know about the soul level liberation that's on the other side. Philosophy, the unique lens or truth that shapes your message. So how are you talking about it? Like I talk about visibility in a very different way. I bring in tangible tactical, but I talk about it from a very spiritual element about the matrix programs, about how it's energy. And like, I talk about identity work and I call out people who are doing it wrong. Like I have a very unique philosophy. You do too. Often you're just afraid to say it, right? This is like something I find often with my clients is there's just a fear to claim their philosophy because they do just kind of want to blend in because they know when this person over here talks about it this way, they get good views or, they get a lot of nice comments. When your mission and your energy is behind the philosophy that you have, you're going to attract your people and you're going to get all of those outcomes too. So don't be afraid to be different. It's so important. My beliefs, core values, what defines my leadership, what defines how I show up. These are all things I think about constantly, both when creating content, when creating, even within this community portal. Credentials, education, certifications, your accomplishments. This isn't something I focus on that much because I think certifications are important in some ways. I also don't think they're super necessary. Like I'm not certified in anything, and that doesn't hinder me in any way because my energy and my authentic frequency there is there. And again, because I'm living from lived experience. I'm living from lived experience and I'm teaching from my fire. I'm uncertifiable. You cannot certify what I do. So if you don't have that, I don't want you to worry about it. But if you do have it, it's absolutely something you should talk about. I saw a lady the other day who called herself something, a neuro something. And like the title doesn't actually exist, but it made it sound like she was like a certified something. Like, so there's so many different ways you can do this, but it was the first time I heard it and I was like, is that real? Because I could tell in her frequency that she didn't totally believe what she was saying. So you want to make sure you're not hiding behind your certifications. You want to use them when it makes sense. And then if you don't have them, don't worry. Like your energy should be doing the work for you, but bring it in as it makes sense, right? Because a lot of you do have like amazing educations, backgrounds, certifications, and you should absolutely bring that in. Client language, again, testimonials, stories, things that reflect your impact. This would go with like your results up here. So which of these feel the strongest for you right now? Which ones would you like to highlight more? And so if you're somebody who really wants to talk about the outcomes and the results, get those in whatever way you can. So make sure you're getting the testimonials for your clients, maybe offer like a free workshop or something and get people to give you feedback. You can clip it from their messages. You can ask for like formal testimonials. Document your process, right? Whether it be with your clients or yourself, like document by week 3, you'll experience this or whatever. Like if that's something that feels really good to you. If it's more about your philosophy and your beliefs, like really lean into that. If that's what feels strongest, how can you highlight that in your content? So go with what feels natural, but again, playground, just like the archetypes, you want to bring all of these things in and you want to practice saying it. Because when I first started saying things like, oh, what was it? How I think when I had like 30,000 followers on TikTok, I hit 30,000 really quickly. And um, I want to say the first time I said like this is how I grew 30,000 followers, I still had such imposter syndrome that when I said it, it was like so fraudulent. There was nothing, even though I had actually grown to 30,000 followers, I didn't believe in myself at all. And so I was still in that like low self-worth place. And so it didn't feel good. And that came across in my content. So that's why you want to practice these because you're going to need to show up and say it multiple times before you own that and own it like a boss and embody that frequency. So you want to write your authority statements here. These are just things you can always fall back on, but this is to help you to start embodying it. And you can even turn these into affirmations. As a blank who has blank, I have learned that. As a publicist who has also built a following of 100,000 people, I have learned that it's all about energy and not about strategy. After helping blank do blank, I have seen X. After helping my clients overcome the fear of being seen, I have noticed that their abundance and their love is immediately impacted too. In my own journey of codependence, I discovered that there's a matrix program keeping people stuck. When I blank, it changed everything, and now I teach others how to. When I overcame the fear of being seen, the fear of being myself, it changed my entire life, and now I teach others to do the same because I know it's going to liberate you on a soul level. Do you see how I immediately went into embodiment because I'm so fucking passionate about that? Like, you probably felt the frequency change where I'm just giving you examples versus like I just got so excited about that because it's like my favorite thing to talk about. So make up yours and then play with them and insert them into your content. And again, if it feels awkward, it feels weird, you just have to like keep moving through that. Um, I always credit my success to social media is being witnessed in my process. And that's really uncomfortable to do, but it's really important because you can't work through the visibility blocks if you're just saying things behind the scenes, but you never actually post it. I allow myself to post even when I don't feel super confident or secure because it's the only way to do it. So yes, you can practice and not post, but eventually you got to like walk through that aspect and post it and put it out there and like start letting these things anchor in. It's the only way for you to like own that. Okay, authority through your story. So credibility lands best when it's done through an emotion and a narrative. So which story from your life or your business best demonstrates your authority? So for me, I often talk about my rock bottom and how that's where I finally overcame the fear of being seen and I left the narcissist and all of those things. And then what I've created. So people are seeing me in my outcome where they're like, oh, she's built a following, a business, she's doing these things. Um, Now I'm showing them like, hey, this is where I started. So if I did this to this, you for sure can do it, right? So think about that for you. What part of your story embodies that? Maybe you've lost a lot of weight. Maybe you've healed a lot of mindset beliefs. Maybe you've increased your abundance. Maybe you have found love. Maybe you have, I don't know, whatever transformation you've gone through, right? And what was the result? What's the result of that transformation? Because people, again, people buy, and if you've done the personal branding course and media course, you'll know this, but people buy love, money, and health. So how can you always relate it back to love, money, or health? And if not, you still want to give them the transformation that you got. Maybe that's freedom. Maybe that's peace. Like, what is the thing that people would get and experience versus just the transformation? What's that outcome? Like, we all know when you get in shape, you feel good. You feel good in your clothes. We all know when you have more money, you get to have more freedom and you get to live life differently. Like, that's the type of things you want to talk about. And how can you tell that story in a way that highlights your service and isn't just like promotional or listen to me tell my story? Like, whenever I think about my story, I'm always telling it from a place of service, right? Because it's actually not even fun for me to talk about. The only reason I talk about it is to show other people like what's possible, and I implement it into my content so they can also get context. Because if you're just coming across my page for the first time and you see something and you're just like, oh, well, this girl, it's easy for her to post content. You wouldn't know unless you actually went and watched older pieces of content that like it took me 5.5 hours to post a 2-minute video the first time I did it, that I cried the whole time. Like, you wouldn't know that I've gone through that fire. And so I tell that story. So when somebody else comes across the video and they see it and they're like, oh, there's nothing worse than pulling this thing up and getting so frustrated. So when they see it and they're getting frustrated, that they can then say, oh, well, that makes it possible, right? This is also why when you see those weight loss photos and you see somebody who's like, this was my weight 6 months ago and here's what it is, it brings you in because you're like, oh, that person has done the thing that I'm struggling with. So it's always from a place of service, right? And then you want to look at content planning for authority, right? So how can you plug this in? If you have a bunch of different content ideas, how can you plug in your credibility? So you've got your hook, you've got the heart, you're bringing it all together, you've got your call to action. Now you just want to see, where can I insert some form of credibility and authority in who I am and why I'm the person to help them with the things that we're talking about. And then you have your reflection here, right? This is always the most important part because reflection is integration. What makes you credible in your field? This is where you really own that. How do you embody your leadership energy through both your content and your actions? When you're showing up as a leader in your life every day, that energy will come across in social media, and you don't have to say things like, I'm a leader in, I don't know, you don't have to lead with that hierarchy as much. And it's okay if you want to say that or need to say that, but most importantly, you need to start implementing it in your life so you feel like a leader, and then you won't need to say it because you're going to be like, they just know that. That's like what I embody. And where do you still feel resistance to owning your authority? Which of all those examples above are kind of like, ooh, I don't know. And then you weave it in, right? So like story integrated credibility, I gave you an example here, authority embedded in the teaching. So examples, when I first started working with clients on visibility, I noticed a pattern that as a visibility coach in a channel, I see this happen constantly in my clients' field. When I healed this wound in myself, my entire audience dynamic changed. Like, these are all ways that I'm inserting credibility in my content. And then this is like the core, right? So my experience after 10 years in PR, I realized most visibility advice misses the energy piece. Right. And then you've got the results. This process helped one of my clients go from 0 to 20,000 followers in 3 months by focusing on energy, not hacks. And so you can see all the different ways I took like this one experience and then broke it down through the different pieces. So I'll let you read through that because we don't need to go line by line. And then if you're talking about client language, a client said to me recently that, so maybe you don't even have the testimonial, but someone said something to you and you're positioning it. So that immediately when someone's watching that content, they're like, oh, they have clients, they have a service, let me go check it out, right? That's the journey we're bringing them down. Okay. And then this is my own personal magnetic formula that I apply to everything. So I apply everything I just taught you, but then this is what I do that I feel is different than what anybody's going to teach you anywhere else. Actually, I think everything I do is different, but anyways, my point is this is really important. So the first thing I do is I pinpoint the why of my video. Why is this important and what transformation am I delivering? I get very specific with this, like so specific every single time. Why is it important? Like, I need to know the transformation they're going to have, but then I need to connect to that why. I need to feel how important this piece of content is because there's that one soul out there and I just want them to free themselves. I just want them, I feel it. Like I can immediately feel the person that I'm talking to, right? I need to know the why because if I'm just showing up to yap, I don't feel as inspired. Sure, sometimes there's like an idea that flows through my head and I just get on the camera and I talk about it and I am just a yapper. I love to yap, but I get into the why of the person I'm talking to. So that shame example I gave you earlier, I get into the why because it's just like, oh, shame is such an uncomfortable emotion. And it blocks you in so many ways. Like this piece of content is important because it's going to liberate people from shame. Like I feel that. Okay. So that's where I'm filming from. What is the frequency that person is in? And what does that person or the previous version of me need to hear? Because I'm teaching from my fire, remember, right? So I am teaching the things that I learned. So when I'm thinking about this person in shame, I know exactly how it feels and I know exactly what I needed to hear at that moment. Whether I needed, at different moments a kick in the ass or whether I needed someone to just like see me and to feel seen and heard and like, okay, right? I know exactly what I need to hear though. I know it because it's my fire. What is the frequency this person needs? What's the antidote? So if I can feel into the frequency of why this is so important, like I just really need to liberate that soul. I know what shame feels like, and I know when I'm feeling shame, I just want a way out. I know it's hard for me to sit with these feelings. I just want someone to show me like step one, two, and three. The antidote to this is like, there's hope. It's not going to be that hard. It's not as difficult. I've been there. These are the feelings, these are the antidotes, right? And I hold the antidote frequency while I'm creating. So while I'm filming, while I'm on the whiteboard, while I'm talking to the camera, I am holding the antidote frequency. So when a person, again, because they feel us before they see or hear us, they don't even know this, but on a subconscious level, they feel that I'm holding the solution for them because I am, but I'm holding it energetically. So I hold that frequency as the antidote to whatever they're going through. I try to almost always create in the frequency of the idea, the inspiration as much as I can. When that idea comes in, film it right then. Do not put it in your phone as a thing. You're going to sit there. It's not, first of all, you're probably not even going to do it, right? Like there's so many things I put in this, your phone is where ideas go to die. There's so many things I put into the phone that like never get made because I forget. And then I get back to it 2 weeks later and I'm like not into the idea. Ideas are alive and they are in a frequency. And when you get one, that is the moment that the collective needs it. So film from that place. There are definitely times where I get an idea and I can tell like I need some time to sit with this idea to know exactly how to articulate it or to teach it from an embodied frequency, right? Because if it's something I don't really know or whatever, and I go and try to teach it, like that's going to come off. Um, so you want to really teach in that moment of the idea and the inspiration as much as you can. And if not, you want to be able to journal it. So like sometimes I'll be driving or I'll be on a hike. I'll pull up my voice memos or my notepad and I'm like writing down everything about that frequency. What does this feel like? Am I excited? This is the idea. Why is this like? And so I can tap back into that later. Um, and then also, you want to amp yourself up. So if you're nervous before recording, do some EFT tapping, do some breath work, go for a walk, do whatever your thing is to calm your nervous system down. But before I film, I always do an affirmation rant. So I know who I'm talking to, I know why, I know their frequency, I know the antidote. And now I get into the frequency of like, I need to be seen. So I kind of just like sit. Okay, I'm gonna show you like I'm if as if I was literally about to film a piece of content. My message is needed and my message is important. God gave me this message. It is my job to deliver it. There are people who are waiting for the thing that I'm about to say. There are people who are just waiting for me. They're waiting for me to arrive. What I'm going to say will change lives. I know that I change lives. I know that what I'm about to say will have a massive impact. I know I'll never truly know the impact because it's so much bigger than I can possibly imagine. I know when I show up and I do my part, I know it is divinely supported. I know when I show up and I just say the fucking thing I need to say, it goes to the people people who need to hear it. And I know that this piece of content that I'm about to make is going to reach the people who need it right now. I know this piece of content is activating people into my world. I know I'm about to invite people into something that is going to change their lives. I'm fucking excited to change their lives. I'm excited to change my life. I'm excited for all of us to remember who we are and to become what we need to do. And this video is a part of that process. If I do not show up in my authenticity and I do not say the things that I need to say, I am hindering this process. I am here to embody this and be the light that other people can see. I'm here to shine my light. I stayed silent for far too long. I don't want others doing the same. It is so important that I show up. All I need to do is say the thing. Everybody needs to hear this. Every single person needs to hear this. And I want millions of people to see this video. I am ready for everyone to see this video. This is such an important message. I know that God is going to take this to the masses. My only job is to do my part and to say the thing that needs to be said. I know this is going to go to the exact people who need it. My only job is to show up and say the thing. So I go into these rants of like feeling like I want my video to be seen, right? Feeling how important it is. And this is what I do like just seconds before I record so I can show up in the energy that I want to, right? Um, what else did I put here? Okay, depending on the content. Yeah, this is a good point. So most of the time that's my process. I would say 90% of the time that's my process. Once in a while when I'm like building something out on the whiteboard, once in a while that will be something I will journal on and I'll have like 2 pages on that and then I structure it out. Um, if I'm doing like a video where I'm talking about something really deep that I feel like needs explanation for people to understand, I will journal it out and then I'll structure it. And when I do the journaling out, I just go through and I cut out all of the fluff. We've all heard someone tell a story or sharing information, and you're like, you could have said that in 3 things, and I didn't need to stay here for 10 minutes. That's what I try to avoid. So I go through that and I cut out all the BS that doesn't need to be said, and I keep it super short and sweet. That's just, I'm an Aries rising. That's like like that is my personality type. That might not be yours. So you got to find out like what's key to you. But I do recommend, especially for content on social media, cutting out the fluff because people have short attention spans. So you want to keep them with just what's necessary. Um, and then, like I said, other times I'm talking off the cuff. It just depends on what I'm creating and what I'm inspired about at the moment. I keep it super simple, always. I do not like to edit. So I do the absolute least amount of editing. Basically, my editing is like if I'm like mid-sentence talking and all of a sudden I'm like, fuck, what was I gonna say? I'm cutting that out. If I have a lot of airspace, I just cut that out. Other than that, I really don't do editing. And then I just put like captions and like a thing at the top or whatever, text at the top to say like what the visual hook, right? I don't like to edit. I don't like to adjust. I don't like that process. If I liked that process, I would spend time there. So if you enjoy it, if it's a creative art for you, amazing. That's part of your magnetic frequency. Do that. If you do not like to edit, if you don't like to learn the new technology and do all those things, don't do it. Keep it super simple so that you don't have to do the editing. It's not required. Again, your frequency does the work. So it's like, do you love that or not? For me, I don't. I also like I record and I want to get it out. I don't want to be putting shit in my drafts and thinking like, oh, I got to go back and edit that video. There's more. I don't like that. So I don't like things clogging up my energy field. I record it, I do it, I put it out. I don't rush anything, including my captions, which means if I need to wait longer to post, I do to keep it intentional. So I know I just said I like to put everything out right away, but there's everything I do is intentional. So even if you're reading my captions, I like them to be like another expression of what it is I'm talking about. So I take actually a lot of time and put those in. And I do have in my phone um, a social media folder where I just have all these different captions written. And so a lot of times I can just go in and pick one, make a copy of it, and then change it how I want to change it so it's more unique and personalized to this video. But like I think captions are super important, and I think people use ChatGPT for their captions. I think they miss this. This is a place where you can connect with people because some people are watching the video and some people are reading. So if I don't have time to make a caption, I will put that video in my drafts and I'll write it later. Or I'll post it, but I'll come back a few hours later and add the caption. That's the least ideal, but I'll do that too. If I feel like, oh, this is the frequency, it needs to get out right now, I'll do that and then I'll come back. So just like people sometimes treat content just like I need to push this out and push this out and push this out. a conveyor belt of content. That's what I just saw in my head. But they're just like looking to push things out. If you're not like every email I put together, every caption, the video, like I put a lot of intention into what I'm doing because it's important to me that I'm expressing what I came here to express versus just like trying to pump things out there into the ethers. So I move fast. I take fast action. I try to get things posted right away. I don't want things building up, but like if I'm record this video and I have to jump onto a client session, that video might not get posted for a few hours until I can come back and write like a thoughtful caption for it. Again, you got to find your own rhythm. This is my magnetic formula that I'm sharing. I pray over the video. So I clear energy, I clear interference, even my own energetic interference if I'm like a little bit nervous about what I'm saying. Anything that would seek to stop this information from reaching who it's meant for. And so I'll just say, God, I come to you now. I'm asking for I'm asking you to intercede on my behalf. I ask you to clear any energy that would stop this video from going out. I ask you to clear the algorithm, clear my account, clear like whatever's in your head. Like if this is where I will tell people, if you think you're in like 200 view jail, is where I'll say like clear the 200 view jail, like whatever is there, right? Because none of that stuff even exists. That's just our frequency. But people think it exists, and if it's in your energy field, you're going to keep recreating that experience. So God, source, spirit, I come before you now. I ask you to intercede on my behalf. Please clear the energy of my TikTok account. Please clear all of my TikTok content. Please clear the energy that I am attaching to this content, especially if you're attached to an outcome or you're fearful. I want this content to reach those who it is meant for. And I trust that I've done my part and I'm giving it to you. If there's any self-sabotage of my own emotions, anything that I'm doing that could get into the way of me feeling safe to put this out there to be seen by the masses, I ask that you lift it now. Show me. I pray over the video and I fill it with God's light. So God, I pray that you fill this video with light. That way, no matter who comes across this video, they are feeling the light and the frequency of love. Even if they don't watch this video and they scroll right past it, they'll never know it was this video. I just want them to feel love, hope, inspiration, possibility. I just want them to feel better. I pray that you put your light in that video, God. I pray that your light touches every single person and that it leaves them better. Again, even if they don't watch the video, if they've just come across it, give them hope, give them peace. And then I release it. God, I did my job. It is now your job. And I just let it go. And I'm not going to get super caught up in the views. If it goes to 300 people, I know it's going to the exact 300 it needs to go. If it goes to 300,000, I know it's going to exactly who it needs to go. You got to release it, right? Your views will absolutely help you to understand what your energy is, right? Social media is a mirror. We're going to get into that when we talk more about the blocks in another video, but also, sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's like a super hyper focused video based on converting people into your world that's going to get lower views. So, like, this is why you can't attach to outcomes. I celebrate, I feel good, and I expect fucking magic all the time. I'm always expecting the magic. Like, this is going to be an amazing video. It's going to bring the right people in. Like, I just keep affirming that. I feel it. I celebrate, especially if it was a video that I was talking about something I was nervous to talk about. I celebrate myself. Like, I allow it to be an exciting and fun thing because again, it gets to be fun, it gets to be good, it gets to be exciting, it gets to be rewarding, right? And I only engage on social media from a full cup when I feel called and inspired to, and I don't do anything out of obligation. I do that in this community too. I only engage from a full cup. Some days I don't engage at all on anything because I'm not in a full cup. Me giving to you from an empty or half empty cup isn't doing anyone any good. So I would rather not post in the community or not post on or not like be engaging with people on social media and come back in a few days when I actually feel like I have something to share with you. So I don't engage from obligation. And a lot of people have that as a visibility block of like, oh, I'm going to have to spend so much time talking to people. No, I'm absolutely here to build community. I consider anyone who's like a follower to be soul family, and I want to connect and talk with them, but I'm not going to do it at my expense. So I wait until I have a full cup, and that is when I engage. And I don't make it mean anything, right? Failure does not exist. I am just gathering information. So even if a piece of content fails, whatever that would mean, right? Even if it brings negative comments, whatever, everything is just gathering information. And I really try not to pay attention to the matrix metrics. You're never going to know the impact your content is having. I can give you an example. There are times where I've posted content where it didn't quote unquote perform. It had really low views, but it's like, somebody DM'd me and was like, hey, I was about to like self-harm and this video stopped me. It gave me hope. The other day I was scrolling through social media and this girl was talking about shame. Halfway through the video, she's like, this came as a result of watching Kristen Shay's video. And she created a whole series. And now out of her series, all these people are hearing this information. This impact cannot be measured in those matrix metrics. If I hadn't seen that video, I would have no idea that she made that. And then she's taking that idea and using it in her experience, and then she's sharing it, and then other people see hers and they're sharing, and you'll never know the ripple effect of your impact. So I just hold the frequency that like I'm more than enough. What I'm creating is more than enough. And this whole thing is a playground, and I'm just exploring and gathering information. So these are your foundations. This is where you want to start in the creation of content. And then as we go through, we're going to talk about the blocks. We're going to get deeper into the nitty gritty of it all. But I just want you to use this as a playground until you're a little bit more comfortable in this area before you add the next layer on. But you've got this. This is the place that it gets to be fun, rewarding, exciting, and easy. And I'm sending you all so much love.